Hello and welcome to episode 274 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm definitely not affiliated with that bloke on Twitter, Andrew RP. And with me tonight is League Freak, who you can also find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
The thoughts and opinions of both people on this podcast have been approved by League Freak.
Yes. Indoctrinated.
Oh, man.
So much so. Okay, if it wasn't for you, I never would have started using Manscaped.
You know what? It's a movement now. Everyone's jumping on board. We've seen lots of tweets from people saying that they've purchased their Manscaped products. So what you do, here's the deal, right? You go to manscaped.com and you can buy anything on their website. I'm talking anything. But when you go to checkout, if you put in our exclusive code, which is NRL, you get 20% off and free shipping. And today I'm going to tell you about the Magic Mat, which are disposable shaving mats. Now, what they look like is they kind of look like an old newspaper that you put on the floor. And it's to keep everything basically in the one place when you're doing your manscaping, and then you chuck the mat out if you want, you know. It's just up to you. They're $4.99. You get 3 of them. They're disposable. They're recyclable. They're made out of recycled paper, I should say. They're dual purpose because they're entertaining, but they're also practical. And, you know, we're all going with the Pappenhausen this month. I don't know what we'll do next month, but we're going Pappenhausen this month. And so you've got to do that with your Manscaped products. So manscaped.com, put in the code NRL, 20% off, free shipping, and a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Everybody should actually buy 2 of those, so then you can have 2 rows of 3. You stand in the middle. That way you deal with any hair that may stray forwards or backwards, or left or right. Whereas if you've only got 3, if it strays forwards, it's going into that no man's land of carpet or tiles.
Exactly.
2 of them, stand in the middle.
You know,
sweet ass.
You don't want it falling on the carpet, on the tiles, into someone's food. You want it to fall on this mat, you know?
That's what it's there for.
Exactly.
Now, there's been a lot of news in the rugby league world.
Yeah, it went from being a quiet couple of days. I feel like we did the last podcast, and it's like, oh yeah, quiet couple of days, and then today it was just news upon news upon news. Like we probably could have done 3 podcasts with how much happened today.
Shit has gone crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get with the big story so far, and that is the St. George Illawarra Dragons 30 hours ago decided they were going to try and see if they could register Israel Folau.
Mm-hmm.
But before the NRL could, wade into the discussion and figure out whether they're going to let him play or not, Dragons obviously saw a lot of the anger on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And said, yeah, you know what, this is not worth it. And so they backed out of it.
Yeah, their pull-out game is strong.
Very, very much strong. I think Israel is still contracted to the Catalan Dragons.
I'm not sure. I know he definitely had a 1-year deal, but did he have a 1-year option after that?
I've got a feeling he may have done.
Okay.
But apparently the rule is he's still keen on trying to get into the NRL. So
yeah. I would guess that if you're not from Europe, it's got to be a little bit difficult to get yourself back over there and re-established and everything with all the COVID rules in place and stuff like that. So I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more players try and get out of Super League deals and stay in Australia. I mean, we saw Ben Teo do it from Rugby Union. We saw Sonny Bill Williams do it from the Toronto Wolfpack. This was clearly a move of the Dragons, putting one up the flagpole, seeing what the reaction was. And the reaction, at least on Twitter, was very, very negative. I know on Talkback Radio it was pretty mixed. There was a lot of negative stuff. I know in the media it was almost 100% negative. So, and obviously the Dragons have said, look, it's not worth the hassle. What you think of Israel Folau being allowed back in the competition or not is up to you. I think he's an idiot. We've said he's stupid.
Yeah. We've said it several times over. He's an utter moron.
Yeah. And I I don't know. Like I said the other day, from a talent point of view, he would have been a good addition for the Dragons, just from a talent point of view. But I don't really care what happens to Israel Folau, and I think the best thing for everyone is for no one to really care what happens to him. Like, it just seems boring to me at this point.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we'll move on.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with the Dragons because the other bit of news that came out of there was I think 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
They've decided to let their most wholehearted player and captain, Cameron McInnes, go at the end of the year, and he's going to the Sharks. Now, this is a deal which I believe was 3 or 4 years all up, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I also can't see why the Sharks would sign him because Blake Brayley is an immensely better hooker already, and he's got many years on him as far as youth.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of improvement that Brayley had just last year alone when he got to be the number one hooker at the club. What we saw at the end of the year was a leader of the club, not just on the field and directing play, but also a leader in their attack. Everything just started to roll through him, and when he was playing well, the Sharks were winning games. And in that last finals match, Brayley scored a try right on half time, which gave the Sharks the lead when they went into half time against Canberra.
Mm-hmm.
But he got injured in the process. He was that committed to scoring, though, that he kind of knew he was going to get injured because his leg was caught up in the tackle. He kept busting anyway, and he got over the line and got the try. But he didn't come back on the second half, and Canberra ran over the top of the Sharks and won the game, and that was the end of the Sharks finals campaign.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like McInnes he's 27 now, so he's basically in the prime of his career. There is a feeling he can play in the back row as well. I think he's overrated. I've always thought he was overrated. I felt like he was one of those players where he's playing in a terrible St. George Illawarra team, and people are like, oh, this guy, and it's like this guy, he's looking all right in a team that's rotten. And when I saw that there was a lot of talk that he was not happy with the new coach, the first thing I thought to myself was like, this guy hasn't actually done anything in the game really. And before the podcast, you and me were talking about it, and I was like, I got to look this guy's win percentage up. Now, you said you're just guessing that his win percentage was about 51%.
Yeah.
I kind of agreed with you. I thought that it wouldn't be good, but he would just be over 50%. We looked it up. His win percentage over his career is 43.85%. Now, any player that's win percentage is that low, I don't care what they think about the coach. Shut the fuck up and do your job, because the fact is, and I'm not a big support, like I'm not pushing the barrel of the new coaching staff at the Dragons, but they haven't coached one single game yet. So I don't want to hear from any of the losers in that team if they like the coach or not. They should all hopefully hate the coach at this point. I hope he's flogging the shit out of them because they all deserve it, because they're a bunch of fucking losers that need to pull their heads out their asses and stop thinking that, they know what to do to win games, because they clearly don't.
Especially when you consider that Anthony Griffin, the Dragons coach this year, has won 55.5% of his games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
12% better.
Yep. I don't want to hear from these. Nah. And we've seen it before where you sometimes get loser players that they get upset with the coach. And it's like, shut your face. If they were winning games, I'd be like, you know what? These good players, they know what they're doing. They've achieved a certain amount. I mean, Cameron McInnes, he hasn't done anything.
No, look, I will come in for him, okay, on one little thing here, and that is he's a solid player. Like, when I think of him, players in the past, the first one that comes to mind is John Morris. Like, he's not going to, John Morris at hooker, I will stress. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about John Morris at halfback. Mm-hmm. That was a horrible idea, Tim. John Morris, solid, reliable defender. Pretty good service off the deck at dummy half. That's pretty much what you get. Apparently the Sharks are thinking of trying to move him to lock.
Mm-hmm.
McInnes only wants to play hooker, naturally.
Yeah.
And my thoughts on this was, if the Sharks needed a lock, why didn't they just go and buy Elijah Taylor when he's still around? Because he would have been, cheaper and would have done the job better. Because all they're pretty much getting is a bloke who can make lots of tackles in the middle, which I can understand that John Morris would want to do that because the Sharks' middle defence has been largely atrocious in 2020 and even in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So getting a good defender in the middle would be a good idea. I don't know why you get Cameron McInnes to do that job. He's a hooker. He'd be better off going to somewhere like the West Tigers or the Bulldogs, perhaps, or something like that, where they actually need a genuine starting number 9 instead of trying to use makeshift ones or ones that are got a history of being injury prone. So I don't get why the Sharks signed him, especially when they've got plenty of good young forwards anyway who could fill in at lock. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it feels as though he is. You look at their younger players; they're pretty damn young. A lot of their young players. It feels as though by the time that they have turned into really seasoned first grade players, that McInnes would be towards the end of his career, really, as a hooker. I mean, there's not many hookers that are really hugely effective beyond the age of 31. You get your outliers like a Cameron Smith, but they're very few and far between. You even look at the likes of, say, Danny Badiris, who probably was going down as the second best hooker of all time. I mean, he fell off a cliff at a certain point, and it was in his early 30s. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But, I thought I was just disgusted by the way that the new St. George coach was thrown under the bus like that. I thought it showed a lack of leadership. I think it showed a lack of class. And, it just pissed me off. It really did.
I did see a very interesting tweet made earlier about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, for Cameron McInnes, it's looking at his coaches that he had when he's been at the Dragons.
Yeah.
And McGregor said, Cameron, don't change anything. You're perfect just exactly how you are. And then Dean Young and Shane Flanagan got in there saying, yeah, we think you're getting in the way, but you're not that great. Let's just move you to lock.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Griffin comes in and says, yeah, you're not that great. And Cameron McInnes replies with, I prefer McGregor. That's it, you're gone.
Would you remember there was a point, I remember this really clearly, where under Matthew Elliott at Penrith, the players apparently really liked him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and it was
about
like,
how much they liked him.
Yeah, and I used to blow up about it because I was like, you fucking losers, like the coach. It just felt like, a good coach, there should be an element of fear. There should be an element of wanting to gain their approval. There should never be a thing of like, I really like this guy or I really don't like this guy. It just seems as though a good coach, I mean, you look at Craig Bellamy when he's going off during the game. He's an absolute prick to be around. But everyone at that club knows that it starts and ends with him. He gets the results. If you do what he says, you will be a winner. You are most likely to be a premiership winner. So shut up and do the job. Now, obviously, Hook is not that sort of coach at that sort of level, but he's a pretty damn good coach, and he's won a damn sight better percentage of games than Cameron McInnes.
But he's a good bloke. Yeah, are you saying that you don't want to have a good bloke as a coach? Could you imagine the amount of good times you could have if you went out just for a beer with old mate Matty Elliott? He's a good bloke.
All I can think of saying right now is, imagine you go and have a beer with Jason Taylor. What could go wrong?
Hey, at least you can hit him in the end.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, what else have we had? Well, there's another big story during the week is that Boyd Cordner is set to miss half the year because of concussion-related issues, I guess is the way to to word it.
Yeah.
The Roosters are seeing if they can get salary discount, I guess, against him for missing half the year.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously everyone's going off about, Broncos and the Roosters in this salary cap. If he misses half the year because of salary cap stuff, I don't care if he gets a discount or thing like that. I'm fine with that. But I think Cordner should probably see this as the writing on the wall, and he should, for his own sake more than anything else, he should just retire, because take the concussions aside, his form alone has been pretty poor the last 2 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's because of the concussions. Not just, constantly missing games and not getting a chance to play big bunches of games together to build that form up, but also the actual neurological impacts that it has from taking all of those hits that he's had. Because we noticed that his handling started to drop away a bit. He'd drop catches he'd normally always take. And he refused to find a better way to do hit-ups and tackles. He just kept going, to his credit, mind, 100 miles an hour in everything he did. He just threw his body into everything. And I think it's at a stage now where he genuinely needs to consider hanging up the boots, because I hate to think how much worse he gets if he gets in one or two more knocks.
Yeah, and it's not like he has things left to achieve in the game. He's won a premiership. He's won an Origin series as the captain of the Blues team. There's nothing left for him to prove. And as you say, his form has fallen off. He looks like a play. At some point, forwards look like they've just been run down from the collision side of the game. And he looks like that, but when you add in the head knocks and how easily he is getting head knocks, it's a real concern. I just think he should retire immediately. The Roosters get that salary cap dispensation because his concussions come in the State of Origin series, well, the last ones anyway. And because it was in rep games, they can apply for that. I've got no problems with that either.
It's the same thing that the Bulldogs got for Kieran Foran when he got injured, when he made his return to Test football and got injured after about 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's fine. The clubs have to have something in place like that for allowing their rep players to take part in rep games. The alternative is they don't want their players in rep games, and we don't want that. But yeah, Boyd should. I really do. I think he should retire, and I understand why he won't until he really, really has to, because you're retired a long time, and
especially in this game.
Yeah, and he's a competitor. They all feel like they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, even when they've been knocked out, even when they're not playing well. They still feel as though they're that star player. They feel as though he still 100% feel like the New South Wales Blues captain, and I get that, but I think that's when his circle, his immediate circle, should say, "Listen, Boyd, you had a good career. Leave before you need to, rather than too late."
Exactly. Well said. Now there's some great news for Cohen Hess. It's looking like Paul Green's going to be the Maroons coach.
Oh wow. Cohen Hess had the worst game for a State of Origin player ever, I thought, in the last series. Remember, he played X number of games, and I think he made X number of minutes in, I think it was game 2, and he made one tackle. It was disgraceful.
Yeah. I don't know what's more disgraceful, the fact that he made one tackle, or the fact that the New South Wales players didn't run at him enough.
I know, right?
Who's to blame there?
That's just bad coaching on Brad Cooper's part.
Yeah. I don't know. I've not seen anything from Paul Green to suggest that he is a great coach without having a great player on his side. And given that he doesn't have Cameron Smith or Cooper Cronk to help him out, I'm worried that this Queensland team might become a bit pedestrian. I don't know that those words might come back to bite me on the ass, but I'm willing to go with it. Because Green has not shown that he's much of a tactical coach. So I'm not too sure what he's going to bring to this team.
It's weird that Queensland have had that coaching position shuffle around. Wayne Bennett did one of the great coaching jobs in this last series, and I can understand him saying, look, that might be my coaching masterpiece. I'm good now. Find
Yeah.
somebody else. But it is strange that it's shuffled around since Mal Meninga moved on to the Australian job. I'm like you. Paul Green doesn't really fill me with any sort of dread as a New South Wales supporter. But, who are the alternatives if you look at Queensland?
Well, they've got a ton of alternatives. The problem they've got is they decided that they want to have a Queenslander as their coach.
Yeah.
Hasn't always been the case. Back in the 90s, they had Kiwi Graham Lowe as their coach.
Yeah, that was a bit strange, hey?
Yeah, but he did a reasonable enough job. No one seemed to be too upset about that. But I don't know. I'm sure they can find other coaches because your job at this level is more mentoring than anything else.
Yeah, and Mal Meninga really has shown that. Like, Mal Meninga, you can say what you want about him as a club coach. He wasn't that great. But as a representative coach, he just knows what's needed. And it really is. It's almost like an overseeing, mentoring role, making sure the players mentally are in the right place going into a match. And, they've really missed that for the most part, the Queenslanders. And it's something that New South Wales has really had a problem having that sort of thing, let's be honest, since Phil Gould's days as the coach.
Yeah.
And we're going back many, many years now.
Yeah, that's definitely mid-90s.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I just, it's interesting to me that Queensland job, and I think that there's a lot of it is people looking at the Queensland available talent, and it's not like when they had a super team. I'm sure there would have been every coach applying for that role when they had that super team, but now they're in a little bit of a rebuilding phase. I think it's one of those roles where they've just got to sort of take who's available, and that's Paul Green at the moment.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, we've got one big story here now, and there's been quite a bit of talk in the last few days from Peter V'landys that the NRL is going to expand to 17 teams in 2023. We've got a year. We've got one new team coming in. And it's looking like it's going to be a team based in Brisbane. So it's not expansion, by genuine definition. It's just another team in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Enough. There's a market there. Why not tap into it and get a bit more out of it, apparently. So the words come out that the Brisbane Jets are going to be, trying to be, I dare say, the front runner for this gig. And now the Brisbane Jets is the Brisbane Bombers, run by Nick Livermore, who we've had on the podcast, and the Western Corridor bid, which would be based in Ipswich. So I'm not sure if it's the actual Ipswich Jets or if they're just borrowing the Jets name. I'm not too sure on that one.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
okay.
They'd be based in Ipswich. There's talk that the Walker brothers would be the first, coaches of the club. Obviously, they've been pretty successful in the Queensland Cup. This feels, and I was talking a little bit to people on Twitter today about this. Now that Peter V'landys is pretty certain that he wants a team 2023, he's obviously got the green light from the broadcasters, and all of the different Brisbane teams are lining up. And all of a sudden, when you saw that the Bombers and the Ipswich Jets are coming together with this one big bid, this kind of felt like they were going to be the front runners. I want to reassess all of the bids because there's been a lot of changes just this week with a lot of them.
I believe there's only two others left, and that's the Redcliffe Dolphins and the Brisbane Firehawks.
The Firehawks, yeah.
Because we used to have, pretty sure we had four.
Yeah.
But now with the merger of the Western Corridor, Ipswich Jets one, and the Brisbane Bombers, should be down to three now.
Yeah. And, it's going to be really interesting. I feel as though they would need to give the green light to the winning consortium before June 30. So, not so much so that they can lock in players for next year, because obviously they're not playing next year. But I think what it would allow them to do is to offer contracts for that year after, and then allow those players to play for another NRL club. Some of them will be able to play for Ipswich in the Queensland Cup, I guess, but I feel as though they need that extra time. You wouldn't want them to be getting the green light a year out. I think that they need that extra little bit of a year and a half.
Yeah, especially to help get corporate sponsorships, stuff like that set up as well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see that money's coming in, and it's they're building their brand, so to speak. So when they do come in, they're not just a surprise thing. Everyone's known about them, and there's a bit of excitement around them, which will help bring in the crowds as well.
Yeah, so, and this really does. It feels like almost a best of both worlds situation where you and me talked to Nick Livermore, had a great conversation with him. I think that we both sort of felt like that was the leading bid, with him and the Brisbane Bombers consortium joining up with Ipswich. It just feels like it covers every base now. It's going to be hard to beat, but I do want to sort of read up what is on the table from the other bids first before I say they're the leading one. And look, we're going to try and get Nick Livermore on here. He's going to be very busy over the next couple of weeks, I would suggest, with media commitments. But that's not even taken into account the work that he does to behind the scenes to make this sort of stuff happen. But we'll try and talk to him as soon as we can.
Yeah. So he did come out with a quote today saying that what was it? We aim to pick up existing rugby league fans who aren't Broncos fans, and just as importantly, that huge catchment area in Logan, Ipswich, and Toowoomba. I believe the Broncos have Redcliffe as their feeder club. I'm not sure on that. They've moved around a bit. They used to have several teams as their feeder club. They've now narrowed it down to one.
Yeah.
And something tells me it's Redcliffe. I could be wrong. Apologies if I am. So if that's the case, then I suppose there's a good chance that the Brisbane Jets may get up so that the Broncos feeder club doesn't get impacted, and the Broncos, further on from there don't get impacted either.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that relationship between the Broncos, because as you say, the Broncos wouldn't want to lose a feeder club, although they could switch pretty easily, and we've seen them do that a lot of times. But if you're the Broncos, you don't want to lose what you've got, and it could make for a really interesting situation. I'd love to know who the Broncos would prefer, or if they have any preference, and who the broadcasters prefer, and if they have any preference. It's going to be really, really interesting to see them all maneuver, and I think you'll know when it's getting close to a decision when you're going to start seeing the different bits critique one another publicly.
Yeah, they're like a little public stoush between the teams.
Yeah.
Your hair stinks and you look like poo and that sort of stuff. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
What else is there? The All-Stars game. They've named the teams for the All-Stars lineups.
Yeah, look, I haven't seen them.
Let me go through them for you.
Okay.
So the 20-man squad for the Maoris, going from fullback down to the bench, we've got Chance Nickel-Klokstad, Dallin Watene-Zalesniak, Joseph Manu, Dylan Walker, don't know how, Remus Smith, Jerome Luai, Jerome Hughes, Jesse Bromwich, Brandon Smith, James Fisher-Harris, Britton Nakora, Kenny Bromwich, Joseph Tapani. On the bench, Jeremy Marshall-King, Kevin Proctor, Nelson Asfa-Solomona, Jordan Ricky, Patrick Herbert, Bailey Simonson, and Benji Marshall.
Holy crap, I've seen a number of Maori teams named over the years. That might be the strongest one. That's unbelievable.
It's got a fair bench on it.
Yeah.
There's fair forward pack on it too.
Oh, the forward pack is, man, that forward pack is ridiculous.
It's insane. And for the Indigenous All-Stars, They've got Latrell Mitchell, Blake Ferguson, Jack Whiten, Jesse Ramian, Josh Adokar, Cody Walker, Jamal Fogarty, Andrew Fafita, Ruben Cotter, Josh Kerr, David Fafita, Wade Graham, Tyrone Peachy. On the bench is Alex Johnson, Jermaine Tanua-Brown, Cade Cust, Chris Smith, Tyrrell Fuimaono, Josh Curran, and Brian Kelly.
Damn, they're strong too. Holy crap.
Very strong.
This is going to be a good game.
From everything I've seen so far, it looks like Andrew Fafita's lost a few kilos.
Yeah. And look, he was really honest about it.
Yeah.
He said, I think he called himself, and I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't complimentary.
Yeah, he basically fat-shamed himself.
Yeah, I think he called himself a fat mess or something.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think.
And look, you and me talked about it a lot last year, that he looked like he was carrying too many kgs, but you could understand it because his knee was, it was a problem all year. He really didn't get a chance to train and play the minutes that he used to playing. But I hadn't heard too much about this All-Stars game until the last couple of days. I thought that we were going to see both teams a little bit weakened, but listening to them teams, man, I cannot wait to watch that one. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be good. That's at the new Cowboys home ground on February 20, so 16 days away.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to be able to have a pretty damn good crowd up there too, because they haven't had any of the Rona up there.
I haven't heard about that. You might be right.
Mm.
I mean, we hear about Rona everywhere down here in Melbourne. It's all the rage.
Didn't something happen? Like, I don't know what's happened tonight in Melbourne, but didn't your Premier say something? He had like a 10 p.m. press conference. What did he say?
I didn't see it, so I've asked a few people around. So basically what happened is, I think one of the people in charge, one of the people involved with one of the tennis players from the ATO, so Australian Tennis Open, I think one of them tested positive to coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier today, someone in the hotel, which is at the actual airport, so if you come off a plane, you go straight to that hotel and you're quarantined there. Apparently someone got the UK version of the virus there, despite the fact they didn't see anyone. And they reckon it may have travelled through the air when the person bringing up the food had the doors open. Because apparently this new English version can travel further through the air than the original version.
Wow.
So they think that's how the other person got it. So now they've locked down everyone that was on that floor. And everyone's been, nasal tested for the Rona. So we'll find out the results from that in the next day or two, I guess.
Far out, eh?
Yeah, so apparently it's back to face masks when you're inside in a public setting, which should apparently have been removed. And they had a 75% capacity on sporting venues. I think that's been paused and it's going to be back to 25 or 50 or something like that now. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So, tentative steps. Nothing too serious at this stage.
Okay.
But everyone's just sort of on edge.
Far out. Well, hopefully they get it under control quickly, because we've been very lucky in Australia, and like up here in New South Wales, it's been, I think, about a week where you've been able to go around without masks, which has been good. But yeah, it'd be good if they'd get the vaccine out here quick enough, hey?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. Who knows where it is? Hopefully Craig Kelly's not in charge of it.
See, I don't know what he was talking about today. I missed all that.
He's a bit loopy.
Okay.
I'm not going to go any further, but he's a bit off his fucking chops.
No, I think you should in bedrock. Tell us what you think about everything. Tell us what you think about daylight saving.
Oh, don't, mate. Don't get me started.
Oh man.
I make one jerky tweet. Everyone thinks I'm serious about it. Like I give a fuck about daylight saving.
Oh shit. 2020's great, hey.
Oh, it is. What else is there? Apparently the Melbourne Storm are planning for life without Cameron Smith.
Yeah. Well, considering they've got, without Cameron Smith, if Cameron Smith is retired, considering they've got two of probably the best five hookers in the game still at the club, including, I think, arguably the best one still. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're fine.
Yeah, they're more than fine.
Yeah. I feel like that planning isn't.
Imagine, I'd like to know if there's ever been a case,
Mm,
and this can be for any position on the field,
mhm,
where a team has had one of the greatest of all time,
mhm,
an international from another country,
mhm.
and possibly one of the best future hookers or future players, all in the same team at the same time, all in the same position.
Yeah,
So that's a hooker, just any position.
you
I'd
know,
like to know if that's ever happened before.
I feel as though it's the only team I can think of that probably had situations like that were those great Dragons teams who they had so much talent, and there was, anytime somebody started to get towards the end of their career, along come another, potential all-time great. That's the only situation I can really think of that maybe was okay. How about this one? The Canberra Raiders go from Gary Belcher to Brett Mullins, maybe.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good passing of the torch there.
I think at the same time, Balmain went from Gary Jack to Tim Brasher.
Yep.
That
That's
was a
another
Golden
good one.
Boot player to a future Test player as well. And did they have? Oh, just trying to figure if they had an English fullback at the team at the same time.
At the Tigers.
Yeah, I think I'm getting mixed up with one of their halfbacks.
I guess thinking from a Penrith point of view, and there was a bit of a break between Alexander and Gower. I don't rate Gower that highly, but he was a pretty damn good replacement halfback.
It is a good one to ponder.
Yeah, maybe that's one we could do a whole episode of. We can sort of sit down and put our thinking caps on.
It'd be a whole episode of us going,
Yeah.
42 minutes later. Oh, I think I've got one.
Oh, how about this dude? Oh.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
See, these are the questions you and me normally put to one another, and we will spend, we'll go on a deep dive where 3 hours later we're looking through Rugby League Project and finding like who Glebe had coming to the team. And
exactly right. I could almost go with the Gary Jack Tim Brasher one and throw in Sean Edwards because he did play one game.
Okay.
At fullback.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, for Great Britain against France.
Okay.
That's a horrible effort though.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I never would have ever thought of him as a fullback. What were they thinking?
Well, they were playing France.
Yeah, true.
They won 50-4, so it's not like he was a bad idea.
What about, okay, you know who has potential is you go from Billy Slater to Ryan Pappenhausen.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You went from Robbie Ross to Billy Slater. Was there somebody in between there?
I don't think so. Was Matt Geyer in there? No, he was playing more than ours, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was doing centres, then a little bit of 5/8. I can't remember anyone between those two.
Let's have a look. This is great. This is great audio. This is.
Yeah, this is what we really do. This is what we really do most of the time when we're on Talking on Skype.
Part of the website's broken. I've got to go through a different back door.
Damn it!
We all know about back doors.
Yeah, typical.
Position. Just careful. Four only. Okay. Well, we could go with Slater, Gareth Widdop, Pappenhausen.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I beat Pappenhausen. Oh, you know what? Jerome Hughes was there too at
Yeah.
fullback.
And Cameron Munster.
Yeah.
Greg Inglis.
Man.
So that's some good quality
I know, right?
fullbacks.
It's crazy.
They've had 24 players play at fullback in their entire history.
Do you reckon that's high or low?
I'd say that's low.
You know, the thing is though, you think of someone like a Greg Inglis, right? Like he could, I mean, and he did. He played a number of different positions, and then, as you say, Matt Geyer, he had to go there, but he was another one, could play a number of positions. Munster, obviously another one. Jerome Hughes, another one. Like Ross was a specialist fullback. Slater really was a specialist fullback once he moved off from the wing. Pappenhausen is now a specialist fullback. But they have had an embarrassment of players that can make a fist of playing fullback and do it like pretty much at an international level.
Oh yeah. So just a comparison. Like Melbourne Storm had 24 players to play fullback in their history, since 98.
Yeah.
In the same period, Penrith have had 31.
Okay. And
so let's have a bit of fun. 4 of them have played 50 games at fullback.
Okay.
Come on, who are they?
Okay.
This is since 98.
Reece Wesser.
Yeah, he's at the top with 170.
Yeah. Okay. Dylan Edwards got there yet?
He has. He's got 56 games. He's number 4.
Okay. Wow.
2 more. Neither of them are at the club now, but they are still playing football.
Oh, they're still playing?
Mm.
Oh, man, because I was going to say Peter Jorgensen, hey?
No, he only got 45 games. He was at number 5.
Okay. They're still playing.
Yeah.
Lachlan Coote?
Yes, he's had 67 games.
And, this last one's going to be a real tester. Watini Zelezniak.
No.
Oh, okay.
He only played 20 games there.
Okay.
He's just 2 games behind the coffee salesman up on the Gold Coast.
The coffee, so man, it's got a kick.
It's got a kick. Watch for the aftertaste.
No.
Number 2, 81 games at fullback.
81. I bet when you tell me I'm going to be kicking myself.
Oh yeah. Still in the NRL.
They're still in the NRL.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not him. Oh, I feel so bad about this. Okay, who is it?
Matt Moylan.
That makes me feel dirty. Wow, he played that many games at fullback for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
That's a bit surprising to me that he played that many games at fullback.
Yeah, well, they always had decent halves around, didn't they?
I guess I think more of him as a fight, like, because by the end I feel like he was more of a 5'8" for Penrith.
Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't do kick returns, so of course he was a 5'8".
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, I have fun with this.
This is a real insight into what we're normally like, hey?
Parramatta's had 28 halfbacks since 98.
Oh my God, that feels like a lot for halfbacks.
Yeah.
Since 98.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's not go down that path. I'll end up with the West Tigers and go, the West Tigers have had 93 people play fullback since 2012.
They've had 744 centres.
Yes.
All of them who were back rowers.
And they all played at least 3 games at 5'8" and 2 games at hooker.
Yeah. Name all of the West Tigers wingers that were over 5'8".
They could run 100 metres in under 20 minutes.
Yeah. Name all the West Tigers wingers that were under 120 kilograms.
Bo Ryan.
Yeah.
Job done. Ahmad Bajuri. Who else is there? Nick Bradley Kualalawa.
Oh, man.
Surely that's got to be it. Daniel Fitzhenry. I think I'm done now.
Yeah. Oh, what about the greatest kicker in history?
Nah, he had to be over 120 kilos.
You
did
reckon?
you see how slow he was?
He ran like someone that was about 140 kilos.
Yeah, he ran like molasses.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was funny when Luke Cavell actually left and went to the Sharks. So many people were upset about it. Oh, he's a great goal kicker. And you have a look at his goal kicking stats. Like, where's that flash?
What was his percentage?
Oh, it's like 70-odd% or something.
Isn't it weird though? Like when you think of the great, and I guess it all changed really with Halligan, right? And Matthew Ridge, but you think of the great goal kickers kind of before their era, and you look at their percentages, they would not get close to being a first-grade goal kicker now.
Oh, no. I mean, Mal Meninga's always a classic one. A lot of people would think that he was a great goal kicker because he kicked at club, state, test level, that sort of thing.
Mm.
But yeah, his goal kicking stats were pretty average.
Yeah.
61.66% for Mal in his club career.
Yeah, so if that was your goal kicker now, people would say that you don't have a goal kicker.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And like you look at, I think that Nathan Cleary's percentage last year was absolutely absurd. You know, it's really interesting how the goal kickers are just getting better and better and better.
Cleary actually had his second worst season last year with goal kicking, but it wasn't exactly atrocious.
What was it?
78.9%.
I feel like he must have fallen off towards the end of the year because there was one point in the year where I feel like it was in like the high 80s.
Oh, probably was. I mean, last 2019 he kicked at 87.88%.
Wow, that's great.
He only missed 8 of 66 attempts.
Yeah.
2017, 90%, kicked 92 of 102.
Man,
that's just nuts. So all up, his overall career goal kicking record's at 83.5%.
Between that and how good he is at making TikTok videos, I should have given him the King of Rugby League award. I really should have.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't, to be honest. I'm quite surprised with that.
The way I see it, he'll win half a dozen of them anyway.
This is true. Now, have we had any emails?
Let me have a quick look through I haven't seen any in the main email account, but let me have a quick look on the Fergo and the Freak website. If it would load quicker, I wouldn't have to pretend that I wasn't. Okay. Oh, we do have one. February 3rd from Liam.
Good on you, Liam.
Thank you, Liam. Hi, guys. Exactly. Hi, guys. I found an interesting bit of footy trivia that I don't think many people remember, and that is in the one game played between the Melbourne Storm and Adelaide Rams, they played for a Southern States Shield / Trophy, or whatever it was called, to try and create some sort of rivalry. My question is, do you guys know about, I guess, it and other obscure trophies that clubs have played for in a regular season match? And if you could create a trophy for two teams to play for to make a fake rivalry, what would you call it and what teams would play for it? And then he says, the less sense it makes, the better. And he says, mine would be the Panthers and Tigers play for the Ivan Cleary Shield to commemorate the absolute fiercest and most long-standing rivalry in the history of all of sport. Thanks for the content in the off-season, guys. Great work. That's a really good one, Liam.
That is. You know what? I'd have a Panthers versus Tigers one, but it'd be a salty spud.
A salty spud award.
Yeah. It'd just be a potato with a salt shaker above it. So looking like it's suspended in the air, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Pouring salt on the potato. That's all it would be. That's what they'd play for, and Penrith would win it every year.
Yeah, or
because they just own the salty spud.
What if the losing team, somebody from the losing team has to eat a giant bowl of super salty mashed potato, and every single time, Ivan Cleary is just waving in their face.
You could give them all kisses.
Yeah, blows them kisses.
Yeah, just good. They eat the bowl of mash. And he gives them blows them a kiss. God, that sounds very friendly for a rivalry.
It really does.
As far as past ones goes, there's a few out there at the moment. I think Manly and the Sharks play for the Steve Rogers Shield.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Sharks and the Dragons have one as well. It might be the Monty Porter Cup or something like that.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Don't the Eels and Bulldogs play for the Bandage Bear Cup or something like that?
Well, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's something along those lines.
They tend to try and have a cup named after a player who played international footy for both sides or something like along those lines, or was a legend for both clubs.
Yeah.
Which is why when Manly play the Roosters, I'm surprised they don't play for the Bob Fulton Cup or something like that. No, they may do, but I've not heard of it. The only one that from a long way back that used to be played for was the Agricultural Shield.
Mm-hmm.
And this one worked in a unique way where if you won the premiership 3 years in a row, you got to keep it.
All right.
And the Roosters did that in 1913.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Daly Messenger was given it because he was a staff for the Roosters at that time, and I think he might have retired at the end of 1913.
Mm-hmm.
But it got involved in a bit of a wrangle with the New South Wales Rugby League, and they tried to get it back off him.
Oh, really?
And I think they had it for a while too.
It's interesting when you look into the history of trophies and shields and stuff in rugby league. Like, you would think that for the most part these things would be in really looked after in special places and stuff, but for a lot of them they get passed around and lost and refound, and it's kind of strange.
Yes. Mind you, one that couldn't be lost from the past is the Goodwill Trophy, which was designed by the French, I believe, and it was given to the best test nation at the end of every year.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing is essentially a large table with an immense fucking cup on it. It's so big, it's got 4 handles around the side of it, so people could actually lift it up and cart it around. It is immense. A lot of these trophies, this is the thing, I don't know if it's still open or not, but a lot of these trophies are actually at the NRL Museum.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard it got temporarily shut down a few years ago, and I've never heard whether it was back open or not, but they've got a lot of trophies there. They've got the old AMCO Cup there. They've got the original Super League trophy. It was only in play for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the many different incantations of the Winfield Cup, the Optus Cup, all that sort of stuff. I think the Giltinan Shield gets displayed there occasionally. The NRL trophy's there.
We talked about the City Cup as well a number of episodes ago.
Yeah, I can't remember if that one's there or not. The other one I don't think is there is the Endeavour Cup. I think that might actually be at the Sharks Leagues Club because they won it in the last year that it was on. I don't think it left the club. They don't display it, so it might be in a broom closet somewhere because that's how teams actually store trophies these days. I mean, most people know about the fable, or not the fable, the stories about the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been on a hell of a journey. It's been lost a few times. Got lost in the mail when it came to Australia once.
Someone found it in the ditch and thought it was a wrestling trophy once.
Yeah, I think it got found in a loft in England. It had been sitting there for ages. Someone found it at a tip somewhere, I think, in the UK. It's had a fair old journey, that thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely
we just get a trophy and just go, fuck this thing.
It's really weird. And like I saw one that the West Tigers actually have a few months ago now, I guess.
Is that the Sevens trophy?
No, it was the Premiership Trophy is one in 2005.
Replica one.
Yeah, had a look at that, took a picture of it too. but it's not like it is in like a leagues club or anywhere. It's in their offices.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit strange.
Well, couldn't find a place for it. Just put it on the front counter somewhere next to the business cards.
Yeah, pretty much.
They probably put the business cards on it. Use it as a business card holder or a paperweight or something. Half the staff there weren't even at the club when they won it. What is this brown thing?
I reckon if you had half a mind, I reckon you could spend not too much money and make offers for trophies that are really important in the game's history and get them really easy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I reckon you could go to certain clubs and say, look, this old trophy you've got back here, I'll give you $100 for it. And they'd say, oh, yeah, good, get it out of here. It's making, it takes up so much space. I'm sick of it. And it ends up being like, some great trophy that's been documented in really important pictures and things like that.
And they're like, yeah, we'll give you $20 for it.
Yeah, I reckon you think of all of the World Cups we've had, the different versions of them in between the real one getting lost and found and stuff. I reckon you could buy at least one version of a World Cup trophy for $1,000.
There's a few of them out there. They go pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Which clubs do you think should have a trophy for a rivalry?
A fierce rivalry. Well, what about the local derby between the Brisbane Broncos and the North Queensland Cowboys, and you could call it the Irrelevant Cup?
So maybe the Josh Maguire Eye Gouge Cup.
Sponsored by OPSM.
Exactly.
You could have,
Finger in the Eye Cup.
Yeah. Well, you could have a trophy between the Bulldogs and the Broncos that come out of last year, and it could just be a golden turnstile.
Yeah, it doesn't actually stand in place. It just constantly just spins around like a windmill.
I've got one. You have... Okay, I'm trying to think of someone they could play for it. But the Dragons, they propose a trophy called the Humanitarian Cup.
I guess the Bulldogs for that one.
Yeah. What about just trophies you could award teams? Like,
straight away, the West Tigers are getting a 9.
Yeah, they just get a golden 9.
Yeah.
What about a golden needle for the fucking Sharks?
I don't know. Maybe the Knights have taken that over.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they could play the Knights for it.
There's an idea.
What about a trophy that is made of bronze and it looks like a burning pile of books, and it's played between the Bulldogs and the Melbourne Storm?
You can have a tri-series competition and have the Raiders in there as well, and Parramatta. Yeah. Make it a quad series. Put Para in there too.
Yeah. After the Raiders, let's face it, the 1990 grand final should be awarded to the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, although they basically played against 2 teams.
Exactly. Disgraceful.
They beat them in the second year.
You know what? I just thought of one. You could have the Penrith Panthers and the Dragons play for the Matthew Elliott Memorial Shield.
Penrith will just phone in a buy, won't they?
Yeah.
Let's go, Dragons. You can keep it.
What else could you do?
The West Tigers and the Cowboys could play for the Tim Sheen Shuffle Deck Chair Trophy.
What about the Manly Sea Eagles and the Bulldogs play for the PVC seat, the Trent Barrett PVC seat award,
the Trent Barrett Memorial Chair Award?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Whoever wins it has to give it back to Trent at the end of the day.
Yeah. He always has to take it home. It's like after everything's done, he loads it into the back of whatever car he drives.
I'll have an official ceremony. We go there and says, "Give me back my chair."
Yeah.
He puts it in the back of his Toyota Supra, and off he goes home.
Okay, what else have we got here? This is good. I'm enjoying this. But with the Panthers have the West Tigers one. Yeah, who are we missing? Oh, well, the Warriors, and they could play. Who else are we missing out on? The South Sydney Rabbitohs. What could they both play for?
Bondi.
Just Bondi.
Well, both try to be there. They've got a lot of residents that live there.
They could play for the Isaac Luke Trophy. Play for both of them.
That's true. The Cannonball Trophy.
Why Cannonball?
Wasn't that the tackle he made famous?
Was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
Like the other people had done it before, but I think he got suspended longer than anybody else for it, where he hit someone in the back of the knee.
I loved watching Isaac Luke when he was at the prime of his career.
He was phenomenal.
Oh, and like his ball running was sensational, but his defense was just absolutely crushing. He was the best hooker in the game, I think, for a little while there.
Yeah, no doubt. The Sharks and the Tigers could play for the Bo Ryan. I don't know.
That's exactly what it's called. The Bo Ryan, I don't know.
The Bo Ryan Who Gives a Shit award.
The Luke Covell Golden Boot.
At least, yeah. I think Covell actually played for New Zealand as well.
Did he?
I
can't remember that. What about the? What about
the Bryce Gibbs Cup?
What about the Todd Byrne fucking concrete boots cup between the Warriors and the Roosters?
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Yeah,
when he won for the oldest rivals.
Yeah,
the two. No, I was going to say the two teams that have been around the longest and have never ever had to leave the competition. So it'd be the Roosters and the Bulldogs.
Okay.
How about the the bought not bread trophy?
Yeah, that's where they've both gone.
Exactly.
Isn't it funny how like there was a while there where Bulldogs fans were upset at the Roosters about the fact that they bought their entire team, and then you kind of looked at the Bulldogs and you're like, have you got one local junior in this side? What the fuck are you talking about?
You bought them all from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, who else is there? South. No, I can't think of anything for South. They're not. They haven't got a long enough history. They've only been around since 2003.
Oh, shit. And is that your official stance?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, you say some controversial shit, Mr. Ferguson.
Not me, not ever. That's just to wind up the South fans.
What other ones could you have? You could have the Jeffrey Eccleston, is that his name? Edelson, that's it. Jeffrey Edelson wedding gift award. You just give it to the Sharks because they were a wedding gift.
Almost a wedding gift.
Well, I count that. There's no way you can discount that, but allow them to keep their premiership trophies.
Well, you can because he never actually gave the club any money for it.
I know, but then
they almost went broke because of it.
I tell you what, that's one of the best deals they've ever got.
Yeah, that was one of the smartest moves.
Yeah.
He bought the Sydney Swans just before he bought the Sharks, or tried to buy the Sharks.
All right.
Yeah.
But the club still went through the embarrassing media circus despite no money ever getting exchanged.
That's right. They got embarrassed and got no money at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah, and then didn't make the finals either.
Well, it feels very Sharksy.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, this was... I guess this was at the very beginning of ET's career.
Uh,
Or
yeah,
was it?
yeah, it would have been. It would have been about 4 years in. He did start
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
teenager, so I think it was about 4 years in.
yeah. I think people forget how long his career was. Like, it,
83 to 2000, I think.
yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah, it was something like that. He did start in 83. He had an immense career. That was the funny thing about him is he started out as just this electrifyingly fast winger,
Mm,
and then became this defensively strong and very brilliant centre.
yeah,
And I don't think he's ever going to get the recognition he deserves. I think a lot of people overlook him just because we've had so many genuine all-star, all-time great centres. He's just in the next list down. He'll never get moved up any higher than that.
and I think the thing about him too was like he was a rep player. Like he was one of those guys who, even when you had like Meninga and Renouf, you would be like, oh, you get him on the wing for Australia.
Yeah,
He was just and for New South Wales, I mean, he's one of New South Wales' greatest ever players, I think.
yeah. You could put him on the wing, put him at centre, put him at fullback. He's
Yeah,
great in all of them.
he was a really, really good player. It is weird how some of the game's best players they just get forgotten a little bit, and there's no real reason for it.
No, and that's why, without going down that rabbit hole again, why recency bias needs to be eliminated when discussing who should be the next Immortals. We should wait a decade or so before we start having that conversation. See how much we remember those players when they haven't had to watch them for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like like if you line up, say, Eddinghausen and Renouf, okay, pick either one of them and you're going to get literally one of the 1%ers of all time in terms of your centres in the game's history.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a reason why people will still talk about Renouf rather than ET, and it's because it might have been 0.5% between them. But damn it, that 0.5% that Renouf had was just like watching magic.
Oh, that's the thing. ET was a master of several positions, and I think that may have hurt him in the long run. But Renouf, the thing about Renouf is that he was such a risk, even without the ball in hand, because he was such a magnificent intercept exponent. And God, how many long-range tries did you see him score in his career?
Yeah, well, like that one he scored in the grand final against the Dragons, that really summed him up because it's like you give him just a sniff and he is going to run the length of the field, and it's that thing of like, I don't care about what your times are when you're at pre-season training. Stick a ball under your arm, stick your headgear on and put boots on, and no one's catching Steve Renouf.
Nope. And they never did.
No.
Over 100 tries in a near 10-year career. He didn't have a very long career. Did everything he needed to in it, though.
Yeah. And then went over to Wigan and had a pretty good time in Wigan as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He just dominated everything he did. That's just who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good email.
Yeah, really good one. Thanks for that, Ian.
Yeah, send some more in.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, on that note, I think we've pretty much wrapped it up, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been a really busy day. Hopefully Rugby League settles down tomorrow.
Yes. Now we've got some additions to our socials.
Oh yeah, some very important ones. We like to keep up to date and current.
Yeah, we're up there with the kids.
Yeah.
We heard what you guys are doing, and we've now got ourselves, get ready for it, a MySpace page.
Sure. It's been a while. It's like us and Justin Timberlake.
That's it. And some other bloke. We've nailed it. We're all over that MySpace shit.
You know what I noticed?
Mm-hmm.
Tom wasn't our first friend. Remember Tom used to be a first friend on MySpace?
Has he given up on it?
I don't know. I know he sold it, and he made a lot of money on it, because I remember seeing somebody tweet to him saying, "Oh, you didn't make as much money as like a Zuckerberg and stuff," and he was like, "Dude, I'm a multi millionaire."
Yeah. He doesn't even need it.
No.
So yeah, we've got a MySpace page. It's Fergo Freak Pod. We're keeping it simple.
Yeah.
We don't know how to use it, but it's there.
It's there. It exists. We've also got a SoundCloud page now. Is it SoundCloud?
That's the one.
Yeah. So we started it. It should have all the latest episodes on it going up automatically, and hopefully it all works. So if you're using SoundCloud, you can always flick over to that now if you listen to us on something else. So yeah, we just want to make sure we're available on absolutely everything.
Yes. SoundCloud didn't like the fact that we had 6.5 years worth of content to upload. Apparently you can only put 180 minutes. We kind of blew that out of the water, so yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's all right. They'll get used to us.
That's right. I'll be expanding that shit soon.
Yeah.
As always, we're on Instagram. We're on Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. So make sure you check us out there as well. Got our own website too, Freaky.
We do. It's called fergoandthefreak.com. And if you go there and you want to send us a little bit of feedback, you click on the contact section. There's a form comes up. You just fill it out. Boom. Done.
It is as easy as that.
It really is.
Make sure you also give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on your podcast listening device, and we'll read it out on the podcast and we'll post it up on our website as well.
Yeah, we want to hear your really nice reviews, and if they're completely irrelevant but nice, we love those ones.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah,
they are fantastic. They're the best. Possibly someone who knows how to use MySpace.
Yeah, do something.
Yeah, get in touch and show us how to use it.
Yeah, send us messages, or I can't remember. It's been so long. I just remember I used to have a MySpace page where it played an AC/DC song, TNT, and the first note used to scare the shit out of people when they go to my MySpace page.
Yeah, well, we managed to update the logo and the background photo. That was it.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's all we need. It's just advertising.
Yeah.
If there's any other social media accounts you think we should be on, let us know.
I know Bebo's coming back. I saw someone talking about that.
Don't even know what that is, but let's get on it.
Yeah, I never had Bebo, so
who knows what that is. And also, big thanks to our sponsors, Manscaped. Make sure you go there, buy anything you want, anything at all. Go to the checkout. Type in the code NRL. That's our gift to you. You'll get 20% off.
And remember, it's Pappenhausen month. So you got to go the Pappenhausen look. We should run a competition, hey?
Who's got the best Pappenhausen?
Yeah. Bag's doing the female section.
Oh, yes. We've been through that already.
Yeah.
So yeah, check them out, support them, buy their stuff. That's fantastic gear. Freaky loves it, as you know. He talks about it every episode. Not because he has to, he just loves it that much.
They don't even pay us money. No, they do. But they're fantastic. We love them. They love us. It's been a match made in heaven, really, hasn't it?
It has. Can't argue about that.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I guess we can wrap this one up.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for listening. And thank you too, Andrew.
Thank you, Freaky.